You got one life, for crying out loud. You might as well just give it all you got.
The Deej, Dan Jordan.
Your daily dose of reality. Your daily dose of the Deej.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I need my daily dose of the Deej.
I make the news. I don't watch the news. I'm a leader.
The Sales Energizer, Dan Jordan.
Listen, don't worry how to sell, baby. Worry about why people buy. And it's fun.
You don't need a 5-hour energy. All you need is the Sales Energizer.
Just when I think it's not going to be as fun as the one before, each one gets successfully better. What's the word I'm looking for? What's it going to take to get you into this car today, huh?
And now, please welcome the Sales Energizer, Dan Jordan.
Boom! That's exactly it. Do that. Let's do that. There we go. Woo.
It's time for that midweek injection. If it's been raining wherever you're at and you're just kind of like, you're still like, there's nothing that can pump you up in the middle of the week like Dan Jordan Live.
No,
What's up, my friend?
I can't tell you how important it is to bring energy. By the way, I just got a new client. Unbelievable, a great deal. I had to rush back. It was a real live, in person, in your face, shake your hand, the type of stuff you dream about, like back in the old days. Like
IRL, baby.
That's right. It was just so good. And like the electricity in the room, and it was a stupid meeting, but the electricity in the room was so, amplified, A, because people just need other human contact, but B, because I brought on the Deej. People don't know the story about the Deej. That little moniker came because there was another kid. My name's Danny Jordan as a kid, and so there was another kid named Danny Diano. Tall, Italian, good looking, and so he kept his name. He was more popular than me, so he got his name. So I got my initials, DJ, and then the DJ turned into Deej, and then I realized that when you really want to get in the zone, like when you really want to get right for an event or a sporting event or the end of a race, you need to kind of get that superhuman ability. So I created an alter ego, and the alter ego is the Deej. Because there's only one.
Not just Deej, right? You can't just say Deej. Although when someone calls you Deej, you kind of let it go a little bit, but sometimes you don't. But what I love, Dan, and I'm going to put you on the spot, but you've done this before on a podcast, so I don't think it's ever possible to put Dan Jordan on the spot. But you do. You have a mantra. You have something that you do before. And for those who are watching for the first time, or maybe have watched multiple times, they haven't heard this, and I love it because there's little nuggets in there that I've used sometimes. So if you would please honor us with the mantra.
Sure. So let me set it up. Sometimes you have to bring that alter ego out. You got to turn it on. My kids would say, "Daddy, we need the Deej. Turn it on right now." And so to do that, you have to get your head right. And so I created this mantra, and it goes like this. It goes, "I lead, not follow. I believe, not doubt. I create, not destroy. I make the news. I don't watch the news. I'm a leader. I'm a force for good, force for God. Set the standard, defy the odds. I stand up. I take charge. I win." And you got to put your arms in the air. And you do that, baby, your whole mental state of mind changes. I say that 30 or 40 times a day to myself. And it keeps you right. And so like even before this show, because every once in a while we have a really good guest up. I mean, the type of guest that, upstages everywhere he goes. Walk into a room, all eyes are on him. And so to compete with that kind of stuff, you got to turn on the Deej. So why don't we bring him out right now, Chris Dunn?
Absolutely. Would you please welcome to Dan Jordan Live. Let's just say he's America's #1 attitude keynote speaker, international best-selling author, and of course, the founder of the University of Attitude. You know him as the host of the Get Attitude podcast. Please welcome Glenn Bill.
Hey, what's up? That is very Les Brown of you, that whole mantra, bro.
Yeah.
Les better watch out, my brother. Damn,
You
I'm
know,
excited.
Some people we have to encourage. We have to tell them. We have to say, "Hey, when you come on the show, put the arms in the air." I knew I didn't have to say a word to you.
Nope.
We are brothers from another mother, baby. I'm your biggest fan. I can't believe you've had me on. I love this. I love it.
Well, I've been trying to get you on for a while. He's blowing a little bit of smoke because I've been just reaching out to this guy forever. But for those of you who don't know, Glenn Bill, who was also known by most people as Bill Glenn, nobody could figure it out. He had to say it, so it was a million different ways. I met him years ago with Jeffrey Gitomer when we were doing some sort of events, and he was sending us out to do stuff. And I've never seen anybody improve so much and keep on going to the next level, the next level, and next level, that his contemporaries can only see him by looking forward and while he's looking back. So you're just killing it now, and I'm so proud and jealous of you all at the same time.
Well, it was so funny. I'll never forget. There was about 15 or 16 of us trying to become a Gitomer certified speaker. It was, intense. It was very American Idol-esque. And there was I'm trying to think, Michelle was the one. She said, "You have a job. I want you to read Jeffrey's material and come up with a keynote around Jeffrey's material and his books." And of course, Dan gets up, and Dan's probably the best guy that was there. He was awesome. I'm like, well, this is good. Well, look I have something called ODD. It's called Oppositional Defiance Disorder. I was the person in class where they said, who didn't put their name on the test? That was me. I was the guy in class when they said, do all the even problems, and I would turn in all the odd problems. That's just the way I roll. So I go and I do this presentation, and I think I was a little too intense. I was a football coach for 25 years, and Michelle looks at me after I do the deal, and she goes, "Glenn, did you even read the directions on what you were supposed to talk about?" And I said, well, no. She said, have you even read one of Jeffrey's books? I said, no. But Jeffrey said, okay, here's the deal. The dude's got stage presence. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. He goes, go look at one of my books, come back and give me a 5-minute speech, and we're going to make. He's like, I love your chops, man. But man, you don't follow directions or read directions. So to all of those people who are salespeople listening to the Deej, that have oppositional defiance disorder, that have the ADD, that just show up. Dan always shows up. How you show up matters. That's the number one thing about the University of Attitude that we teach. I love how Dan shows up. That was the story. And I remember Michelle going, have you even read any of Jeffrey's stuff? I said, oh, hell no. No. I'm just going. I'm going and doing it. So there you go.
That's hilarious. But you really just kill it. And you've started this University of Attitude, which is really, really close to my heart. When I first got started, I had a mentor who said to me, do what you do well. And listen, you could go up on stage and literally, say nothing of value. Zero. Nothing there. But say it with enthusiasm, and and they'll love you. So that's what I got. So that's what I use. You have that same kind of gift when it comes to your attitude, and you've built a whole career, or an extra career, or an additional career on top of it. Tell me a little bit about that. How'd that get started?
Just very briefly, I was a Division I college football player. God blessed me with the ability to start a family at a very young age. I walked into a real estate office. I said, you got to be kidding me. I'm going to destroy these people. And I did. I became the number one agent, and I bought the company when I was 23. Was fortunate enough to have 2 partners, built a company to a multi-office real estate office, 175 agents, sold everything at the age of 37. And people said, how in the world did you get into a full commission business, become a top producer, buy the company, create multiple locations, and sell it at 37. And they said, we want to know more. And I said, you know what? It's just like how I walked onto the stage at the Gittimer thing. I didn't ask questions. I didn't plan. I just executed. And, you know, I keep things very, very simple. And so what happened was I created something called the Source of Sales real estate sales system. As I built my real estate company on public speaking and trainings. And for some reason, Dan, I wrote down, I did sales meetings every Tuesday, and I saved the outlines. 17 years I own that company, and that became what is called Source of Sales. And then this whole thing that I do now called attitude-based selling. And the bottom line is people were like this, we love your attitude and we want to know what it's about. And then I went and visited a dear friend of mine, Mr. Clint Arthur, Celebrity Launchpad. And he said, hey, we got the ABCs of attitude. The ABC, having a positive attitude is as easy as the ABCs. So that's like where the book started. That's where the keynote started. And then, you know what, you got to be good. So you get on stage and you do your thing, and then you build referrals. I've never worked with a speakers bureau. I don't think the speakers bureaus, either I don't know how to work with them, they don't know how to work with me. But I'm very fortunate that every time I get on stage, I'm fortunate enough to get referrals and askbacks. I just got one just this morning that came in for 2022, which is crazy. So I'm incredibly blessed. I love what I do. I'm a giver. And I know that my topic is relevant from the ditch digger to the $1 billion CFO. But more importantly, it's really resonated with families, with parents, with teenagers, with kids, especially with what's going on in the pandemic. So, you know, attitude is relevant to everybody. And that's why I love sharing it, because there's not an audience I go, yeah, that's not a fit. Like, hell, if you want me to come speak, I'm speaking.
That's exactly right. I tell people that, you know, even grumpy people don't like grumpy people. You know, it's not like you're going to out-grump somebody into friendship, you know? And so the attitude is definitely there. So, and you so in your speeches, you train people how to do this?
Yeah. So, you know, I always say, you know, back to the grumpy people don't like grumpy people. I always like to say, do you know people that aren't happy unless they are pissed off all the time? Right? There are people like that. They cannot feel happy or fulfilled unless they're upset about something. So, and you know, I do many different keynotes. My attitude keynote, basically, we discuss the 3 biggest mistakes people make with their attitude. And then we jump into the 10 attitude boosters, which I always hold up right there, which are really the main part of my book and my training. And you can't really see it too well. But anyway, we got the 10 attitude boosters, and that's what we go. And then our attitude-based sales training and sales program embody those 10 boosters. And then we relate that attitude, those boosters, to sales. And the bottom line is, you know, the point is if you want to differentiate yourself, if you want to create instant connection and instant rapport, there is no stronger vehicle, there is no stronger mojo than to have that positive attitude. Because, again, how you show up matters. And if you are infectious and you make people feel good, you can still suck and they'll still do business. How do I know this? I was 19 years old, outselling everybody. I had no sphere of influence. I had no training, but boy, was I excited about helping people.
You know what? That you got to cut that into just a little clip, Chris Stone. You know, I often said, you know, if we had a real producer, he would have had your 10 things for attitude. But you know how it is. He's just standing there in the corner in his little square, thinking.
Every show, Glenn. Every show.
And we can start with attitude booster number 1, which is be nice. So I know that as long as you're nice to your producer, things happen amazing. It's amazing.
Yes.
The overproduction you get by being nice to your producer. My producer is Jason Aaron from Studio J at the Get Attitude podcast. You got to love. You got to be nice, my friend.
Oh, so you do have a podcast.
Yeah, I do.
I wonder if your producer would put your little your URL there on the screen. You know, that's right. There it is. Look at that.
You know, we have it scrolling along the bottom, but for those who are just now tuning in, the Get Attitude podcast is found at Linktree/Get Attitude podcast. You can open up any podcast player, however you enjoy podcasts. And if you start typing Get Attitude, this thing's going to pop up because it's popular. I mean, you're having these great guests on. John Lee Dumas, I just saw, was a new guest. And so obviously, you know, we think we're highfalutin here, Dan, because we got Glenn Bill. Glenn Bill just got John Lee Dumas on his podcast. So, you know, it's here.
And I want to say thank you so much. Today is the launch of season 2. I said, look, I need the sales energizer.
Yes,
Bunny,
this is the launch.
To launch season 2, and of course having JLD on Entrepreneurs on Fire for our launch today at the Get Attitude podcast is huge. So we got a lot going on today. But Dan and I have been kindred spirits for years. Me and him are going to do some fun stuff. I just feel it and I know it. But yeah, John Lee was a big one, and then we have Steve Sims, who wrote Blue Fishing. I don't know if you've ever heard of Steve.
Wow!
But next week's podcast with Steve Sims is unbelievable. That dude is out of control. Yeah. Cool.
Really?
Yeah, we used to say subscribe. We used to say subscribe to a podcast, but we don't say that anymore because Spotify has now like turned even Apple to say follow. Like, because people think you have to pay for a podcast. No, this is free, people. This is a free way to listen and how to get attitude from Glenn Bill. But Glenn, I've got a question for you because you were talking back to the attitude stuff. I've found that when I decided to not surround myself with people who were always had bad attitude, and then they kind of pull you into that commiserate thing, and then you end up start talking about all of these, like, you know, you hate your job, or and then when you realize that you stop talking about that stuff, you have nothing to talk about. It's sort of like, why am I with that person? They're affecting my attitude on how I should apply whatever it is in life. What do you tell people that, you know, maybe have this, you know, they surround themselves with people who maybe draw them down or pull them down and work against their attitudes?
Oh, did we lose him?
I think we're frozen here.
Okay. Well, look at it. Well, it's a good picture.
Yeah. If nothing else, you know, there could be a worse frozen picture of Glenn Bill on here. But, you know, in live video, this is what happens. And to what Glenn said earlier. Yeah.
I'll answer the question. You're absolutely right. And you know what? They're worried about something, and they bring you into their worry. I heard a great slogan the other day that I'm just going to steal for myself. It's great. You know, to worry is simply wishing for things that you don't want to happen, because you're constantly thinking about that which you don't want. It's eventually going to happen. So if it's one thing to do that to yourself, to bring other people into that world is pure evil. And you ought not to associate with that. So you listen, we're all creatures of God here, and we have our role in life is not to avoid those people, but it's to try to help them. If that help is going the other way, if that relationship is nothing but you sympathizing, that's a road you don't want to go down. And many people will confuse, by the way, sympathy and empathy. And sympathy, it's like you can't feel bad enough about somebody's situation to make that situation better. You can't feel enough pain for somebody to make that person be well. That's sympathy. It has a necessary aspect in life, but true empathy is when you take those feelings and do something about it and try to help. And if they don't accept that help, limit your time with that, because that's all you have in life is that time.
That's
And
good stuff. And and while we wait for we've got our people, they're trying to reconnect here with Glenn, and so busy week. I'm sure he's getting inundated with all kinds of requests with the launch of season 2. But if you're watching right now, hang tight. Glenn Bill's coming back. We hope that his internet or Wi-Fi or whatever the issue may be is solved. But a lot of times, I think there's a lot of people that either are watching right now or will be watching in the future, and it's just so hard for them with everything that's going on. And and I'm not just talking about I know we can't mention the virus, but
the virus that shall not be named.
Yes,
But,
we can't mention it, but there's other stuff that happens in life. I spoke to someone today that was in a car accident yesterday, and she hurt her shoulder, but she gets a ticket because she hit somebody in the back end, and she went through all of these things that are happening in her life. And I was just like, of course, I want to empathize, right? And I want to talk about it. And then I started talking about, oh yeah, you always get a ticket when you hit somebody else in the rear end, and all of a sudden she stopped me and she said, you know what? I'm not in control of that. I could have killed somebody. I could be, like she said, it is so much better than it could have been.
Yeah,
and that completely changed my attitude. And I'm like, you're right. I was ready to go down that commiseration thing.
Yeah.
And I'll stop talking because our guest is back. So let's hope that the University of Attitude. Oh, now baby. Okay.
I've never lost internet ever. How fun, but great recovery. Let's keep going. We can always edit.
I want to, in a similar situation, we're talking about your attitude is one of the few things in life that you do have control over.
Yes.
And when we're coaching people, the more time you spend on that which you can control, as opposed to that which you can't, is really the definition of your success. And so that attitude, and for small things are great. Small little mistakes are great because that's places to practice your attitude. This morning, I'm on the way in. I'm 3/4 of the way into the office at 5:34 in the morning, feeling like a rock star. I'm on time. I said, let me check the time. I look at my phone. It's in my garage at home. I had to turn around and go back. On the way home, I started thinking, this is how my brain works. On the way home, I started thinking, I'm so glad that happened. You know what? I was probably saved from an accident right up front. I probably am supposed to meet somebody at home. I'm probably supposed to do, and I'm looking for the things that are supposed to happen. By the way, I also forgot to take out the garbage, which I forgot twice because I got a call from my wife afterwards. But I still got into work on time with a good attitude. What do you think of that, Glenn Bill?
I love it. I know that we were right in the middle of talking about negative people.
Yes.
And I don't know. I know that you guys were going to ask me a question. So do you want to ask me a question, or you want to keep talking about whatever you want to talk about?
What do you do? What do you do? You got some negative people in your life, but they're family. They love you. You love them. But they're bringing you down. What do you do?
Well, I mean, you have three choices, right? When it comes to people in your life. And there's always three questions that you need to ask. Who am I hanging around? Number one, right? What are they doing to me? Like, what do they have me listening to? What do they have me reading? What do they have me looking at? What do they have me participating in? And then the third question is that okay? So I think you got to take a personal inventory of those three things. Who am I hanging around? What do they have me looking at? And is it okay? Well, then if there are people that are not okay, then you have two options. Number one, limited association. So it's good that you can talk to them every day, but maybe we need to limit their association to 1 day a week, right? Or some people in your life you need to have eliminated, right? Eliminate association. So when we talk about negative people, when I talk about people that don't make me feel great, that are quote unquote toxic in my life, look at, man, Tom Hopkins, zip, I'm now in my positive shell. I literally have a positive shell. Anything negative that comes into my world bounces right off of the shell. And if you're a negative person, you are going to receive limited association with me, and or you're going to be completely cut off. Now, the most important thing about attitude is there are relationships and associations that we go, my God, these are not toxic. They're full of growth, right? They're helping me become the person I know I'm meant to be. And that's when we get into this thing called increased association. Now, you don't want to be a pest. You don't want to be a stalker. But there are people in your life that you need to increase your time and association with. You need to be strategic about that. You need to offer those people value, and then you'll be amazed at what happens. The bottom line is when you grow to your greatness, people who are negative, they cannot keep up with you. They will actually work themselves out of your life because they know you are on a trajectory that's not going to happen. And that's, unfortunately, just the sad truth of life. And so I really challenge people. Attitude booster number 5, have a mentor and copy him or her. One of the greatest students that I was able to coach, he knew all kinds of millionaires. And I said, how many times do you sit down and have lunch with a millionaire? He said, none, but I know them all. I said, here's what I want you to do. 1 lunch per week with a millionaire for the next 4 months. Do you know what that did for his business? And it's just like you guys, and it's just like anybody that's listening to us, either live or not. There are people in your life that are crushing life, whether it's financially, whether it's in the gym, whether it's religiously, whether it's with relationships. There are people that are crushing life who know you, who will share their secrets. And the secret to success is there is no secret. And so attitude booster number 5, have a mentor, copy him or her, means this. Don't go and say, will you be my mentor? There's like nothing more that nobody wants to do. But you need to increase association with those people. You need to study those people. And you need to see what they're doing right. And conversely, there are people in your life that are doing everything wrong that suck at life. And those are people that you should be looking at from afar. And you need to be saying to them, my God, you have all the potential. You have all the talent. Tell me, how did you screw your life up so bad? And then don't do those things. So that's have a mentor, copy them. This is the power of the association. And these are the power of the 3 questions that you need to be asking yourself about who you're hanging around, because we all know that you are who you hang around when it's all said and done. That's why I'm hanging around you guys, because you make me feel great.
Yeah, well, that's great. And all those things, again, things that you have control with. You can reach out to those millionaires and go out to lunch with them. You can model those things. This is proactive stuff that you're doing yourself, which also just helps your attitude immensely because you're in motion. And from just to put a bow on the last thing about people you're hanging around with, a lot of times it's not just people, it's news, it's those songs that you're listening to, it's that environment that you're putting yourself into. If that's making you worse, stop doing that. Just cut it out of your life. Just like you said, It's not just people, it's also input from all areas.
Yeah, it's a great point, because, and Glenn, I'd love your take on this. It's like people will go, oh man, when I look on Facebook or when I look on Instagram or, whatever social media, I'm seeing this and I'm seeing this and I'm seeing this. And I was like, well, you know what that is? That's an algorithm, right? It's feeding you stuff. Most of the stuff is what you're choosing to put into the algorithm that's showing up on those feeds. So you'd be surprised if you start looking for things on your social media and on your computer, because they're tracking what you're doing and they're giving you what they think you want to see based on what your activities are. Right. So start looking for taking the same mentality that you are with people in real life. And if you're spending a lot of time on a screen or whatever, make sure you're feeding and surrounding yourself with things that are going to improve you there as well. Maybe.
I always like to, when I get with my audiences, ask them this very simple question. Is NBC Nightly News going to make you a better parent? Is Sean Hannity going to make you a better business person? Is Don Lemon going to make you a better community leader? Is the local news going to make you a better person? The bottom line is no. And when we talked about the 3 biggest mistakes people make with their attitude, C out of the ABCs is something called the can't conundrum. And the can't conundrum is very simply this. Are you a person that is always focusing on what you can't be, what you can't do, and what you can't have? Or are you a person that focuses on what you can be, what you can do, and what you can have? That's the essence. And so the essence of the can't conundrum, getting back to social media, is this. And Tony Robbins taught me this. I had a big problem. I always had to be number one. I had to be the number one salesperson. I coached football for 25 years. I was very fortunate to win 13 state championships with that team. It's an Indiana high school record. Being number one matters. But Tony Robbins told me this, Glenn, there's always going to be someone better. And you know what? The most healthy thing you can do is to stop comparing yourself to others. I mean, you want to talk about one of the most toxic things to your attitude. And I love social media. I make money with social media. But social media is there to jack with your endorphins and your adrenaline. And it is crushing people. It is ruining people's lives because the unending comparison with others is something that will bury you, right? It will bury you. It will put you into a rut. One of my favorite sayings is, you know, the only difference between a rut and a grave is the size of the hole, right? So keep that in mind, those of you in sales. I know there's sales charts. I know it's competitive, but the day that you can start competing with yourself and stop competing with the top producers and the guy that's above you on the sales chart, the day you will find movement in your productivity, you'll find movement in your attitude. And let's face it, if you're down and you're negative and you're constantly feeling inferior, people don't want that in a salesperson. You're not going to be attractive to them. You will not be contagious to them. What I'm teaching, what I'm speaking about is how to become the most attractive, contagious person that you possibly can be. And that's what the ABCs of Attitude book is really all about. It's a strategy session. And if you guys want to type this in, abcsofattitude.com, abcsofattitude.com. If you go to that website, you can download the free Get Attitude Playbook, taken from a football coach, right? So the playbook is meant to work with the book. And if you want to identify your attitude, if you want to understand why you have the attitude you have, if you want to recreate yourself, your life, and your attitude, all you got to do is get the ABCs of Attitude book, get the playbook. It's literally a self-study course on how to rewire that mind that our 2 attitude coaches have given us. And we all know who our 2 attitude coaches are. There are who? Parents, right?
Oh, okay. I was about to say coach, but that's good. Our parents.
Well, the bottom line is that some of us have better attitude coaches than others, but we were taught our attitude from a very young age. And the people that we help and the people that we reprogram and rewire, most of their attitude lessons were from a very negative person in their life, usually mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, or caretaker. And that's the reality of it. So if you have a crappy attitude, if you're negative, if you have no energy, if you have no vitality, if you're always focused on the negative, and remember, we feel what we focus on. If you feel like shit, it's because you're focusing on shit. When it's all said and done, we help you change that mindset and change that focus here at the University, the University of Attitude. And that's what we love doing more than anything.
That is just monstrous. And I used to have a guy, gosh, what was his name? In high school, I always have names for him. Larry Horowitz. Yeah, Larry Horowitz used to say, he was always
Hey, bring me in on my laptop.
Okay.
Gotcha.
There we go.
Okay, now
Larry Horowitz used to say, you would love him, Glenn. He said, every day, life is like a crap sandwich, and every day you got to take another bite. that was his philosophy. You know,
interesting.
Yeah, you're gonna go places. No, I think that's excellent. So if somebody wants to get the book, how do they stay in touch with you? How do people? If you could only have one ask from everybody you meet, what's that one ask right now? Where do you want it to go? What do you want them to do? What's the best way for people to get the most out of Glenn Bill?
So I just put in abcsofattitude.com, and that is our book site. And when you go to the ABCs, if you can hot link it, it introduces you to the book. It has a couple free chapters, and it allows you to download the Get Attitude Playbook. That Get Attitude Playbook is literally a playbook of exercises from A to Z that help people discover their attitude, discover how they got their attitude, and then discover how to recreate their attitude. So the best thing you can do is go to the ABCs of attitude. But, you know, the bottom line is when we talk about the attitude booster, number one, be nice. What I really want people to do is go out and be nice. And
Okay, he's gonna go.
This time the internet was not so giving. Okay, we're back. We're back.
Okay, you know, I think that's wonderful. So listen, stick around after we end this up. So we just give us a little bit. But I mean, this has been actually it's been helpful for me on so different levels. But one of them is just kind of confirming that this is something that one can become. Act like the person you'd like to become, and very soon you'll see that person in the mirror. And you exemplify this, and so many other people that meet just can't figure it out that, man, if you just start acting positive, you'll become that way. And if you continue doing those things that anger you, remember this. Please, if you forget everything else, at least remember this. That which angers you conquers you. You become a slave to that master, whoever it is, and you can convert it very easily just by going to following the Get Attitude podcast in Glenville. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you having here. Finally, Chris Stone, you're awesome as usual. As all the bad things that Glenn said about you, I give away back into the ethers. Nobody's better, and except for all you people watching, you're the best. I'm the Deej. Go get them today, will you?